Hey, hey, how you doing today? Ooh, here we are, day 64, and things are changing around here. We got to be very careful with change because we want to move very slowly. What has happened is that the, uh, as of today, Connecticut is doing some reopening, and we're reopening with great caution at the campground. That required all kinds of requirements and procedures we had to put into place. There's no pool, there's no playground, there's no horseshoes, there's no recreational activities. People will be required to wear masks and to pretty much stay on their sites. Or if they can only have their masks off on their sites, and they have to be ready to pop them up at any time. I had mine on till just a minute ago because I had to go down to the office, and I wasn't alone this time. Even working in the office will be different because my sister and I, who usually sit side by side, will not be able to do that because we have to practice social distancing. But we are, on one hand, happy to be open. On the other hand, hyper cautious because we don't want to get sick and we don't want anyone here to get sick either. So, keep us in your mind, cautiously optimistic, and knowing that we're going to be so careful that there won't be a spike after we open up. So, yeah, I'll be wearing that mask a lot from now until who knows. When you go outside, it is so beautiful, and you don't think, oh my gosh, I got to be careful because the virus is still an absolute challenge for us. And but it's so beautiful, it's hard to remember, and you don't want to wear a mask in that beautiful thing. But I urge you, as I remind myself, to be sure to stay very, very cautious. So today, by the way, it is Emergency Medical Services for Children Day. My great-grandson was born with a heart condition, a congenital heart condition. And those, emergency folks were always there to do what they had to do. And we thank them so much. It has to especially tug on people's heartstrings to work with children in the medical field. It's also Wait Staff Day. And this is the day when we celebrate the poor folks, not the poor folks, the folks who are getting poor because they can't get out there and get those tips. Wait staff, if you're not aware of it, typically or they earn less. They have a lower salary, and they're very small. It's like, $3 an hour, and they count on their tips. So as for what you might do for them today, and every day, is start a tip jar. And just keep throwing a little in and throw a little in. And whenever you get a chance, if you find a restaurant organization or anyone else is, having a GoFundMe or whatever for wait staff, that you find a way to provide for them. Whether someone comes to your door, delivering a pizza or whatever, or whether you're running to pick up. Normally, you go to pick up foods and you don't have to. People don't think they have to tip, but I'm going to say tip, and tip as generously as you can, especially if you are still employed. We remember that the unemployment rate as of last week, I haven't heard it yet this week, but as of last week was 14%. That means there is 86% still employed. So surely the 86%, even if we're squeaking by, can find something to share with those that don't have the option of going to work. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Allergy season. It's also very, very special today because today is Rescue Dog Day. And this is the day that we certainly hold in mind those who open their lives and their families and their homes to a rescue dog. Now, I know I don't have a rescue dog. I do have a rescue cat. And she has blessed my life so much. I can't even tell you. She's the most amazing cat. And well, our family, my children, most of my children get rescue pets only. And I think that is just wonderful. And we can all do that. It's a part of how we share in the oneness. And, you know, to me, it's no coincidence that the name of our little man's best friend, dog, is God spelled backwards, because the love that a dog has for us is like a mirror image of the love God has for us. That just unconditional, just love you no matter what. Even abused dogs seem to, you know, love their owners, even though they're, you know, that's the worst. I hate those commercials. You know, a lot of people, when they see those the commercials where the lady sings in the arms of the angels and all the little abused pets are there, you know, a lot of people just want to get up and go to the other room. Well, if you feel like that and you want to go to the other room and you see something like that, how about you get your checkbook and write out a check to Protectors of Animals or Wayside Waifs or another organization that saves animals' lives. How about that? That'd be a good thing. Okay, well, today we are talking about what's in your toolbox. And it is day 64. And so for the past 64 days, I've been providing, to the best of my ability, ideas, thoughts, things that could be called tools. And the tools are to help us not only come through this time of isolation, but also to help us live better, richer, fuller lives when this is over. So I'm going to ask you to think hard for a minute. Imagine this. It's been 63 days. If you've been watching for 63 days, you should have, 64 days, you should have 128 tools in your toolbox if I gave 2 ideas a day. Oh, I know, I've repeated. Sometimes that's just a good reinforcement, but you really should have 128 things that you have learned or heard or hopefully been inspired by. The question is, are the tools being used? How many books are on your bookshelf? How many of them are read? How many are still waiting to be read? And there may be all kinds of dusty or whatever. They're waiting for a little love and attention. You know, I intended to read every book I ever bought. And I have read some of them. Some of them I pull out for reference. But I still have enough books in my bookshelf that I could be reading for a long time and not finish them all. So you have the tools. Are you using them? So let's think about some of the tools that I have given you over the past 64 days. One of them is an understanding of what metaphysics is. Metaphysics is a philosophy based on the theory that the universe makes sense. We study spiritual principles and how they relate to scientific principle, and how an idea becomes manifest in the world, whether it's a good idea, whether it's a bad idea, but how ideas become things in our lives. So that's one thing you've learned, and you've probably been able to, as I spoke, you know, related my stories, related some of your stories to them. Okay, we've learned, if you've been listening, we've learned that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And we've learned that we are currently in, that life is consciousness. Life is what we are aware of about our life. Therefore, we are in a battle of the energy of light and the energy of darkness. Now, the darkness is like shadows. It's not real. It's fake. And all that we need to make the darkness go away is the light of truth, enlightenment. We all have that ability. We are all spiritual beings. Doesn't matter what church you go to, you're still a spiritual being. Doesn't matter if you don't go to church, if you're an atheist. Sorry about that, folks. You're still a spiritual being. And you're having a human experience. The experience is as human as you want it to be, because ultimately, we are each in control of our own destiny. How conscious are you? You know, if they say to you, what did you have for lunch yesterday? A lot of people go, That's because we live a lot of our life on autopilot. We're not conscious with half of what we do. Therefore, up comes the question, why is this happening to me again? Well, it's happening to you again because you didn't get it the first time. I don't know. There are those people who have never bounced a check in all their life. But believe me, I have. Usually, I bounce a check because I wasn't paying attention. Yep. And you know what they say? You're never too broke to pay attention. But if you don't pay attention, you're going to stay broke. After that first bounce check, one would feel you would swear that's never going to happen again. Well, if we didn't really get the lesson, we might have just said, oh, I'm going to do something else so I don't bounce checks. But if we didn't get it, that it was us that did it. It was our fault. You know, I worked in a bank, and I worked 10 hours a day, sitting in a chair on the phone in the customer service area, getting yelled at by people who bounce checks. Oh, God, that was awful. I think, God, that was my karma for all the time I yelled at people when my checks bounced. They all wanted to blame me and you know, the bank and not themselves. So that's an important thing to learn. Life is consciousness. Wake up. Pay attention to where you are. That is an invaluable tool, because whatever's going on in your life, in the end, you're a part of it. You know, we really are. You know what they say? If you point your finger, there's still 3 fingers pointing back at you. All right, other tools. When we started, I suggested you start journaling, that you start writing down what you're going through, your feelings, what's happening with this, because we are literally making history right now. Think of the word history. His story. This is our story that's happening, and it's happening according to how we are making it happen. So did you start a journal? It's not too late, except now your journal might start to be called being a reflection on what's happening. Who knows how long it'll last? You can catch up and go beyond. I also gave you a tool inviting you to make a gratitude list. And if you can't bring yourself to make a list, at least every day when you get up, you should be able to say, you know, what are 5 things I am thankful for and why? The and why is important because that keeps us really aware. And the more we focus on things we're grateful for, the less we think about things we want to gripe about, things that make us angry, things that make us sad. And we're not saying they don't exist. We're saying we're coexisting peacefully with them and not letting them take our life. Those are pretty good tools. How about the tool of what are you wearing? I used to ask that every day. Now I think you've got it. So I'm not asking. And if you're in your pajamas and you're not going to work or anything, you might want to think about putting on some regular clothes. And I have today, I have my shirt. You can't read it probably because it's backwards, but it says making magic happen. And every day we can make magic happen. It looks like magic, but it's not. It's metaphysics. It is the thoughts that we hold in our mind manifesting as our lives. And that's exciting because it gives us control. You know, over these past how many weeks, I've been doing jazzercise every day. I used to do like 3-4 times a week with a goal of 5 that I made once in a while. But it's right in my house right now. And I know I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to do my jazzercise. Because of that, I've lost some weight and I've reorganized some of my other weight. I have a picture that maybe I'll think to post it underneath the video today, but it's a picture of 3 grapefruits and 3 oranges. And it says on the grapefruits, 15 pounds of weight, of fat, and on the oranges, it says 15 pounds of muscle. So even though I might not have even lost as much weight, I've rearranged it, gotten rid of some of the fattier part and built it up with muscle, and you're healthier for it. Now, it would appear magical, like, ooh, what happened? You're looking good. Well, I worked for it, but it didn't feel like work. It felt like I got up and I did my jazzercise, you know? I'm kind of wondering, like, when this is over and, you know, when I go to jazzercise, I'm going to have to go out and get in the car and drive over to jazzercise, and, you know, it's going to be a little bit more challenging to make sure I get out there and do it. But I'm so happy with the way I feel. So what are you doing to stay physically fit? You want to be physically fit, mentally fit, spiritually fit, emotionally fit? We can all make it happen. It can happen because it's all based in principle. Spiritual principle is law. It's the basic law of cause and effect. Everything we do comes back in like kind. Cause, effect. Hopefully you've gotten that one over the time. In your toolbox, you probably also have, or remember I gave you, 12 very good tools. They are the faculties that we were all given, the spiritual faculties: love, faith, strength, wisdom, imagination, divine order. There's all 12. And are you using those? Are you using your faith? Are you using your will? Are you using the power of love? Because those will change your life for sure. If you've been paying attention for the past 64 days, you have learned about the importance of self-discipline. Self-discipline to manifest what you want. And how much things like procrastination can take away from that. Now, I want to make sure that I underscore today the important part of the so you don't procrastinate is my list. I have a whiteboard. On my whiteboard, I list the things I want to get done every day. And as I said on that first day, I'm going to practice my guitar. I'm doing some. Got those free lessons from Fender. 90 days, so I'm still good for another 30 days. I make sure I work on my novel that I'm redoing, and I make sure that, let's see, I clean a little every day, I cook a little every day, do my jazzercise. I work a little every day because I do work for the campground, and I work on my Photoshop. And so when I get that thing done, I don't like to call it a chore because it sounds like work. Practicing my guitar is not work, it's fun. So when I do my little thing, I check it off. Well, we all know that life happens around what we're planning to do. What is it that John Lennon said? Life is what happens when you're making other plans or something like that. Yeah, it's kind of like that. But with my list, I managed to stay focused. What's the other word? Conscious. Life is consciousness. So I try to stay focused on positive thinking, where I want my world to go, where is principle in this. It's not always easy, but it's very, very powerful. Okay, we learned ways to express and manifest by using spiritual principles, self-discipline, the 12 powers, all the things that we've got in your toolbox. And we've also been given great resources, lists of movies to watch if we feel like we need to cry and we want to get it out. Give me a cry movie. Or movies we need to watch when we want to laugh. This is all. Do you see how through all of it, the mind is the driving force? Where the mind goes, energy flows, and manifestation follows. That is so powerful. Well, and I've certainly given you a whole toolbox of what my mom always said. I never knew how much she really impacted my life with her words, in a lifelong way, with those little phrases she'd pop off all the time. We call them affirmations. Some of them were good. Some of them were not so good. But all of them taught me either what I wanted to do in life or what I didn't want to do in life. We've learned in the past 63 days lessons about what it's like to be confined with others that we love that also tap dance on our nerves. And we've also learned how to cope with being alone and how to use technology principles to be alone but not lonely. See, there is so much. The reason I wanted to share this message with you today is I wanted you to delve into your toolbox. All the things that, think about the videos we've made and all the principles we've talked about so we can use them. Another resource that I told you about is, hey, National Day calendar. We look at that every day and say, oh, today is Rescue Dog Day. Also, another really wonderful resource that I shared is the Daily Word. That every day I've got a word, and you can go to unity.org and find out how to get yourself the Daily Word. You can also get it online. But for what it's worth, today the word for the day is free. And if you're thinking, how can I be free? I'm confined at home, or I'm confined behind a mask when I'm outside. I'm confined in, my ability to shop freely, and I can't hug. But we are as free as we decide to be in our mind, in our heart. Remember the lesson I shared about the basketball players? Some of them were told to practice in their head alone. Other people were told to practice regularly. And other people were told not to practice at all, not to even think about it. And the ones that didn't practice at all, they didn't do too good. And the ones that practiced regularly, they improved a little. But the ones that practiced in their head even excelled. Let's face it, if you're doing it in your head, you make every shot, right? Build a bigger belief. So we are as free as we want to be. And it says here also, life is for living. If you're alive, you're living. And life is a gift. We have to make sure we open that gift by living the life that we were given to live. Another great resource, we talked about it one day, it is essential oils. Because there's a lot of all natural things. I told you about the hibiscus tea that actually lowered my blood pressure without medication. I am so happy I could tap dance on that. And I want to tell you something. Those tea bags did not have any warnings on them that, it may cause dizziness, that it may cause this, like the pills that the doctor had wanted to give me. And please note, I did go to the doctor. It wasn't as bad. The doctor said one day, you don't, well, okay, you go ahead and not take it now. One day you're going to need it. He said maybe 2 years down the road. I don't know, but my blood pressure is better than it was when I was going there. So there are natural things, and that's the same thing with the essential oils, and because they're all natural. And I do have a friend that does a lot of work with the oils, and you can actually contact her her name is Brenda, and you can go to Facebook and type in where you're searching for a person, type in oil on exclamation point, oil on. And there you will learn about the oils that she uses, how you can get them. If you want to call her, if you have something to write with, her phone number is 860-227-2147. And it's all about toxin-free living. You see how the earth's been healing through this as we stopped abusing for a while? Hopefully we will never go back to that degree. Maybe we've learned something. Remember, if that's another tool in your toolbox, very important tool, we are here to learn. So every experience that we're having, we want to learn where to come from, how to get there. If it's not pleasant, how did that happen so it doesn't happen again? And if it is pleasant, that happened, I want that to happen again. Life is consciousness. That's the most important tool in your toolbox. I think that is all of the ones that I wrote down, because I didn't want to just spend, our whole time together sharing about what things that we do have. And I see that Brenda actually just popped in on our video today. So Brenda, if you want to put your phone number in the comments or anything, your business phone number, so if anyone wants to know about the wonderful essential oils you have, feel free to do that. I just gave it to them. So there are so many things that we can do to come through this okay. I'm a little, as I said, I'm a little cautiously optimistic as we go into Memorial Day weekend with our campground now being open. But I'm not considering this over until I can go out without a mask and until I can hug someone. And also, that's something I want to put in your toolbox, is to not just jump into something without knowing what you're doing. Like, if people are saying, oh, well, we're open now, we're going to run out and be free and live like, no, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen that way until we learn our lesson. Underscore that. We are here to learn, and I pray we are all learning. I think that is pretty much what I had to cover today. And I know there was a lot of it. I would like to suggest that if you go to YouTube and you find I'll post the playlist underneath here for the YouTube folder that all these are in, and you can bring up all the different weeks or days and what we talked about. And that way you can refresh on something you wanted to remember. It's very sad to have a box of tools sitting there unused, And you know what another toolbox is that doesn't get used enough? It's the Bible. What did you expect from a minister? But it is. I hope you've learned in the things that I've shared in these past 64 days how many good lessons are in there. So I invite you to remember that's there. We're not done yet. we're not out of it yet. And that's the one thing. Don't go rushing off thinking it's over, thinking it's safe before it's safe. We have to learn our lessons in many ways. And one of those lessons is clearly read the signs. To me, the best sign is when that curve is down and flat and gone. That's what I'm looking for. How about you? Well, I hope you have a great day. And if you tuned in late, don't worry. You can wait a minute and watch it from the beginning. You can watch it when I post it on the YouTube version. And you can always click like, share, and subscribe when you're watching the YouTube version.